I feel like we're here,
Mhm.
not way over here, right? I think we're at 3 because we haven't hit the famine yet, and I feel like it's inevitable because of the impact of the war in the Ukraine and all of the other stuff. Israel, right?
So, all right.
I mean, there's a war there right now, right? So let's keep going because I mean, look, this is going to be centered upon the place in which it was happening, right? Like this is the focus: Israel, Jerusalem, all of that.
That's what I think
There's
too.
war,
That's the prize.
and then fourth is death,
Yeah.
right? And I looked, and this is the most famous one, right? And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him,
Mhm.
and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth.
Okay.
And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar of souls them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony with which they held.
Well, that's going on
And
right
they
now.
cried with a loud voice, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?
Mhm.
This to me has always been taught is the last martyr,
It's possible. I would even
right?
go so far you could take it as a bigger scale too, that it's definitely talking about the persecution of the church, man, which is happening all over the place, right? And I actually think that it would get worse if the atrocities of the Catholic Church came forward. I mean, don't get me wrong.
It's not even just the Catholic Church.
Well, I'm talking I'm
It's the
talking I'm talking about the things that they've done. So the Catholic Church. So the difference between a Christianity in America and and the Catholic Church is that a church in America doesn't have any real power outside of its local community, right? The Catholic Church sets policy for the globe, and they've done it forever. The Vatican libraries are stuffed with artifacts that they've done to. You could go down to Mississippi Baptist or whatever down there, and they're not controlling the economy in Kazakhstan or anything like that, right? The Catholic Church is, right? And the Catholic Church has done some egregious things. They changed the calendar. Our calendar's wrong because of the Catholic Church. April 1st is actually the first day of the year. March 31st is the New Year's, but they moved it around and they call it the, papal discretion or whatever, right? And you know what? And they just the you read nowhere in the Old Testament or the New Testament does it talk about a pope. They just made that shit up, right? They just said, "Hey, look, hey, you're a
oh
pope
yeah,
now."
absolutely.
Yeah, so like all you do is like, and then all of a sudden, France. Why does the France have to go to Rome to get permission from the Pope back in the day to be a king? It's because they just basically morphed out of the Roman Empire into the Holy Roman Empire, and
Church,
that's it,
right?
man.
Exactly.
So if the atrocities of the church that came true, and I'm not just talking about the 9 to 5 stuff you can find on Netflix, right? Like, hey, this priest did that or you priest did this. I'm talking about some Jesuit insurrection overthrowing Argentina, something like that, right? Would lead to the next thing that would go in there too, or it would come out and say, "Hey, look, man, this they've been they've been they haven't been legit either." It doesn't talk about in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. It doesn't talk about praying to people, but the Catholic Church loves to pray to they make like all these saints where you pray,
Okay,
right?
so the Saints, right?
Yeah,
I don't get that one. That one I don't get. I grew up Protestant.
yeah.
Um,
I don't either.
that was the whole point, but that's the whole point of Protestantism, right? Like that was the whole
Yeah,
Martin Luther thing was he didn't get it either. He
yeah,
was like, this is ridiculous.
yeah,
The whole thing though, Christianity started out as very different thing than it is today.
yes,
Very, very different. Gnosticism is kind of where it started, and
yeah,
it's just a very it's almost night and day different to like. So if you were to take an old Gnostic like that followed the old like first century AD Christianity, the quote unquote cult of Christ back then, right? Uh, if they met someone at the First Baptist Church uh, of uh, Smithfield, Georgia, they would have some serious disagreements on how to worship.
Yeah.
Let me say that, right? Like serious divergences in like what and how this is supposed to be conducted. The Catholic Church, even in the beginning, there was never any kind of conduit between you and God. It was always supposed to just be you and God.
Yeah.
Right. And then the Catholic Church inserted themselves between that.
That is actually very well said, bro. If you go back and you read, even if you read the New Testament with that mindset in there, never once does Jesus tell you to go to church. He literally says, pick up a rock and I am there. And if two people come together and pray, I am there. You don't have to go to this. The whole thing was back in the day, the Jews used to have this big thing, man. You had to pray on this mountain, specific mountain. They told the Samaritans they couldn't come there. There's a whole big thing that was going on. Samaritans were Jews. They were Jews. Big conflict was going on between them. Jesus was like, no, you don't need to do any of that. You can right here, right now. You can find. I know guys that have became Christians in parking lots, bro, in bars. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like you don't have to go there.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.